This is not who we are. This is not the norm. This is not what happens in Cincinnati.
And if you ask the business owners who call the intersection of 4th and Elm Street home,
something is isolated. That's exactly what this business is not about, what our businesses are about. We work definitely as a collective to make sure that you have a safe environment.
Videos of fights popped up on Facebook, X, and Instagram.
I immediately sort of understood that the negative effect that it probably could have on this new district that we're creating.
So what I decided to open this video with is a little bit of a lesson in media literacy, because I think it's important for me over here at the Actual Justice Warrior YouTube channel to educate you on how the mainstream media, including local news affiliates, ends up obfuscating the true nature of certain stories in order to protect certain groups of people. So obviously, this story is about the violent attack that occurred in downtown Cincinnati in and around a jazz festival over the course of the weekend. However, the angle that the local news affiliate decided to go with was showing you local politicians like the deputy mayor saying this is not who we are, and talking to a bunch of different various disproportionately black business owners who talked about how they are the most negatively impacted by this crime because there's a perception out there due to the viral videos that went viral on Instagram, Facebook, and X that downtown Cincinnati is dangerous. Now, you guys might be a bit confused because if the story is a viral video of a brawl, of a savage attack that went down in downtown Cincinnati, why are we hearing from business owners, by the way, business owners that were not impacted directly by this attack, instead of seeing the video and hearing about the victims and getting accurate descriptions of the suspects who, by the way, at the time that this local news segment was put out, were in fact at large. And the reason for that, the reason you get this particular angle rather than the footage, rather than an explanation, rather than a description of what I count to be around 20 plus attackers that were savagely stomping, jumping on, and sucker punching these white individuals downtown, is because the attackers happen to be a mob of black people, and the local news affiliate does not want to share that information with you. They don't want to show you that information without laying the groundwork that, guess what, downtown Cincinnati overall doesn't always have 20 plus black people attacking white people for presumably no reason, having fun while doing it. And then, of course, when the fight is over, they don't just randomly attack a white woman who's trying to break up the fight, who ultimately ended up getting sucker punched by a man. I mean, that's the story. That is what happened in this case, but they don't want to talk about that. They don't want to discuss that because that gives a bad look to a bunch of different points that they want to make when it comes to other stories about black victimization and how black people actually didn't do anything and they're innocent Beba and Joe Aladdin. So this is what we're going to talk about today. But before we do, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
The video appeared to show a crowd attacking a man and then a woman being knocked unconscious. Cincinnati police have not yet said what may have caused the violence. Vice Mayor Jan Michelle Kearney says officers are on the case.
We're going to find out who's responsible and take action.
I reached out to Cincinnati police asking if they have any updates on what happened near this intersection Saturday morning or if any possible arrests have been made. As officers continue that investigation, the businesses here on 4th Street work together as a team for each other and their customers.
We like a team down here. We're a family.
I met with these three businesses near 4th and Elm: BBQ Chicken, Love on 4th, and Something to Whine About.
We're together in this and making sure that we can share these wonderful experiences.
They said they won't let their hard work be squandered by Saturday's incident.
So it's very important for me to tell you guys out there in the audience that the viral video, which will be linked in full in the description under where it says sources, it will also be labeled for you to check out for yourself, doesn't actually start at the beginning of this confrontation. There could have been something that happened prior to somebody pressing record on their phone that actually ended up justifying at least the initial fight that went down. And I'd like to leave that door open in case we get another angle and we see some bad behavior from our presumed victims. Also, it's very important for us to acknowledge that that is a possibility, because in reality, it does not change the math at all whatsoever when it comes to this particular fight, because what we end up seeing in this viral video is a bunch bunch of black people attacking a white male. When he ends up hitting the ground, they're jumping on him, they're dragging him into the street. People who are not involved in the initial altercation are just coming in to get their licks in, they're stomping on his face, and none of this is justified, even if there was an altercation before that would have justified a one-on-one fight between one of these black individuals and, of course, the white person who's being savagely and brutally attacked. In addition to that, you will also notice throughout the course of the video that other white people come in and they try to de-escalate the situation, and they are greeted with sucker punches, violence, attacks, being stomped on, being jumped on like it's pro wrestling, and this is all to a chorus of laughter by a bunch of different black people that are in and around this area. And at one point in time during the course of one of the videos that I saw, they said that you shouldn't be out here. You don't have a right to be in downtown Cincinnati. And this is, of course, where we have to initiate the Zebra Challenge and talk about how obviously this would be national media attention if 20 or so white people savagely attacked black people and said that they didn't belong in this area, and that was provided as a justification, again, to the tune of a chorus of black laughter at this white pain. And now, of course, the video goes on for nearly 2 minutes, at least the one that I will link in the description of this video for you to check out for yourself. And like I said in the opening, near the end, or what seems like the end, you end up having a white woman trying to get people away from the guy who's on the ground. I mean, again, he's down, he's beaten. Obviously, these black people in this particular attack have no honor at all whatsoever, in that they keep savagely attacking somebody who's already on the ground. They keep sucker punching him. More and more people keep joining in just for the fun of it. And of course, a black woman, who you can see right here in this still image, decides to sucker punch the white woman from behind. And then, to make matters worse, when she is distracted by the woman who is attacking her for breaking up the fight, a black male, this guy right here, ends up knocking her out cold with a sucker punch. This is what the mainstream media isn't showing you. This is what the mainstream media isn't communicating to you. This is what the local news affiliate decided to ignore in favor of telling you about the black businesses that are worried about that woman being knocked out on the street having negative impacts of the perception of downtown Cincinnati. And I just want to be 100% clear about this. Those negative impacts are well deserved by the community. They are well deserved by the city of Cincinnati, because their response to this was absolutely pitiful. Now, of course, after a bunch of internet coverage of this, after a bunch of people made these clips go viral, after Elon Musk ended up sharing this with 46 million followers on X, we ended up hearing about arrests. 5 individuals were arrested in connection with this crime at the time that I'm recording this video, even though we see about 20 participants in this brutal, savage attack, which, by the way, was done for fun. One of the things that I try to make clear to everybody out there in the audience is that this phenomenon already has a name. It's called the knockout game. And the reason it's called the knockout game is because all the participants here, they're doing this for fun, for the enjoyment. They enjoyed hurting this individual. This is why when you watch the video, you see a bunch of black people come in from the crowd who had nothing to do with the initial altercation, throwing sucker punches, jumping on the person that's on the ground. And this is all, again, to the tune of cheers and laughter by the overall mob. This is black mob violence, make no mistake about it, and it's absolutely disgusting. And by the way, just from the audio, you can hear the joy from the mob that are participating in this, that are enjoying this, that this is about having fun, clearly and obviously. Now, to be clear, when most people, including the overwhelming majority of black people, look at this video, they understand that this is not a moral gray area. This is not an issue where you can look at it from a different lens or anything of the sort. They get that this is horrific, unjustified violence. Again, even if we find out in the future that the initial guy who was initially in an altercation with one of the black people would have provoked said initial altercation, which, by the way, there's no evidence for, but I just want to point out, even if that were the case, there's a point where he's down on the ground and a bunch of people in the mob are just jumping him, where this does not become mutual combat or self-defense. It becomes a savage, brutal attack with head stomping and sucker punches and all the things that honestly have become typical of these types of videos. But of course, the angle from the mainstream media is also the angle from the mayor of Cincinnati and from the police chief, who decided to take time out of her day not investigating this particular crime to decry people on social media for sharing these videos, for talking about the stories. The issue here, the problem here, is not the fact that these white people were savagely attacked, including a woman who was sucker punched by a black male on video for the world to see for trying to break up the fight. The issue is all of us noticed it. The issue is all of us saw this. The issue is all of us made this a viral story by sharing it on social media and commenting about how absolutely disgusting this behavior was.
Another topic I want to cover real quick. Social media and journalism and the role it plays in this incident. And yes, guys, that's you. That is you. Social media, the post that we've seen, does not depict the entire incident. That is one version of what occurred. At times, social media and mainstream media and their commentaries are a misrepresentation of the circumstances surrounding any given event. What that does, that causes us some difficulties in thoroughly investigating the activity and enforcing the law. Because what happens, that social media post and your coverage of it distorts the content of what actually happened. And it makes our job more difficult. Go ahead, right here.
Thank you. 2 questions. Where were the nearest officers?
In the central business section. They were working. They were both in vehicles, and like I said, they had to maneuver through the traffic.
My second question is, you had said social media, news media distorted the content of what actually happened. What exactly was distorted? I understand that there was multiple views of the video, but exactly what led up to this? I mean, what was distorted?
Yeah, so I think by the irresponsibility with social media is it just shows one side of the equation quite frequently without context, without factual context. And then people run with that. And then it grows legs and it becomes something bigger that we then have to try to manage as part of the investigation.
Again, this is the angle the local news segment also took when they decided to cover the story, from the perspective of the business owners who were worried that they might be negatively impacted by the idea that Cincinnati and their downtown area, particularly in this area, is actually a dangerous place based on the fact that this mob savage violence was basically allowed to go completely unchallenged in the city during a popular event happening that day. Again, this is their main issue. You noticing is the problem. You observing what's going on is what they're worried about, not actually getting justice for the victims. And by the way, 5 arrests, nowhere near enough. Again, I counted nearly 20, probably more attackers in this video. There's also different angles from other videos. We need to see massive arrests, felony charges, and lengthy prison sentences. That man who sucker punched the woman who was trying to break up the fight after she was already attacked by a woman when she wasn't looking, he needs to go to prison for years, because what he did is absolutely savage. All these people that are stomping out this white man's head when he's on the ground, they need to go to jail for years for attempted murder, because when you're stomping the head of a defenseless person on the ground, that's exactly the crime that you're committing.
Still an open investigation, and all potential charges are being investigated for everyone involved. All investigative tools and techniques are on the table, including, were some of these individuals overserved at some local establishments? it is clear to us that alcohol played a part, a significant part, in this incident.
Now look, there are reports that the Trump administration's Department of Justice and FBI are looking into this, looking to prosecute these people to the fullest extent of the law, because there is not a lot of faith in, of course, the local law enforcement and the local government, who seems more interested in covering up this story rather than pursuing justice. And since the Trump administration appears to be doing absolutely nothing with the Epstein files right now, I guess that this is an okay substitution for their efforts, rather than just telling us that the Epstein files don't matter at this moment in time and that we shouldn't be talking about it. But as of right now, we're just monitoring this case. Again, new angles can come out, new information could come out, but to be 100% clear, at a certain point, even if this started as a self-defense point, which I don't believe at all whatsoever right now based on the evidence, this went well beyond that, and roping in the additional people who are trying to break up the fight, not justifiable in any way, shape, or form, and yet the media decides to cover it up. And yet, Cincinnati officials decide to obfuscate what actually went down here. But of course, those are just my thoughts. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. As per usual, if you like this video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on the social medias. You can support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about savage black mob violence in downtown Cincinnati. Till next time.